back to TGTV, and more specifically, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my GT3 RS 3.8 litre 997. Now, today is going to be an exciting video. It's actually going to be a good one for once. This is not a churn. We're going to go out in the GT3 RS. I'm going to give you guys and girls a ownership impression after 3 months and around 1,000 miles on all sorts of terrain with this car. So we're going to get out, we're going to listen to it, and I'm also going to take it around town for a little bit as well and answer an all-important question. Can you daily a GT3 RS 3.8 manual? And excitingly, we're going to incorporate some new camera angles in this video. So you're going to get up close and personal with some amazing camera angles thanks to Insta360. Here she is then, without my face and gob in the shot. Here is my 3.8 litre. You'll remember, some of you that have seen the video, I've had the exhaust changed. So when we stick a camera to the back of this and give it 1010 down the road, you will hear quite a lot of noise. I did actually do a track day video at Donington with this car, but it was really difficult to get across the noise that this thing was making. And also you can't stick cameras on the outside of a car on a track day because it ends up falling off and going through other people's radiators, which people don't like. Not much else to report. I think we're gonna just jump in and get going. I'm just gonna show you some of the tech before we jump in the car and get hooning. As if by magic then, you're not gonna be ready for this. It's gonna be so clever. Let's bring in the tech. Unbelievable! How did I do that? Here we go then. This is what we're going to be using in today's video. This is the Insta360 Go 2. Now, some of you will remember me using an Insta360 product with my Testarossa actually on very similar roads to these a little while back. Loads of you got involved in that and actually got your own Insta360 off the back of that. This is a new product and it is super small. So let me just show you what's in the box. This, believe it or not then, is the camera. That's actually the case it's in, and the camera is actually in there. Do not let the small size for you. And if you want more information than I'm giving you here, the link is in the pinned comment, and you'll actually also, I suspect, get a saucy discount in there as well. So get in the mix. These are amazing pieces of kit. So loads of features this camera. It's obviously tiny and lightweight. The mountability is mega. There's amazing image stabilization, which you will see, and there's horizontal leveling as well. The image quality and color is absolutely insane, and the Insta360 app has Wi-Fi preview and transfer. There's easy AI editing with the Insta360 app, and the car POV shooting is mental. There's a multifunctional charging case and is waterproof up to 4 meters with the lens guard as well. Also, to prevent it from getting smashed up in your bag, there is rugged lens protection and a replaceable lens guard pre-installed on the camera as well. And for extra special POV shots, which you'll see in a second, you can use this easy clip here to affix onto your cap, like so. Particularly good for driving, and the camera even vibrates as well on there. Very clever kit. So hands on the wheel, hands free, capturing exactly what's going on ahead of you. And having the camera on your head actually means that you get the perfect bird's eye point of view whilst driving around. It's literally your eye line, but slightly elevated even, so you can see that little bit more. It works perfectly for driving, as you can see. So the shots in today's video that you will see me talking to the camera whilst driving from the windscreen here will be shot on this Go 2 and this mount here in the windscreen. And the shots from the rear of the car will be captured on the Go 2 pointing at the exhaust pipes. Shots of the exterior of the car actually pointing at the windscreen has been taken on the Go 2 mounted on the front of the car, which you've seen at the start of the video. Here we are then. You'll notice on me here, we've got a little camera angle as well, so you should be able to see me POV, which is quite exciting. So we've got a camera up here, camera here, and we've got the camera on the back as well. I get so many questions asking what tech I use to film my videos, and I also get people asking for more camera angles. So here we go then. We have got the Insta360 Go 2. Pretty much everywhere, to be honest, right now. I'm feeling very visible across all platforms. So, GT3 RS then. You've seen it round the track, but what is it actually like to live with in the UK on UK roads? We'll put the Sport Plus button on there. What's it like on UK roads? Because UK roads are not known for being the best. Actually, it's surprisingly good. Surprisingly compliant on UK road. They are pretty unpleasant in places. So as long as you don't press the PDCC sport damping button, you're actually pretty well placed to deal with most things other than the biggest rim splitting potholes. It is very, very comfortable, and a big criticism actually even of the new 992 GT3, not even the GT3 RS, is that it is bone crushingly uncomfortable and jittery over usual kind of Cotswolds type roads, as per Mr. Metcalf's review very recently. A controversial review that, but one that I think a lot of journalists were scared to put out, and actually a lot of journalists didn't realise, because they've just driven it on track, they don't actually realise that to use as a road car, it's a completely different kettle of fish to the 997 generation. And what was interesting about that video with Harry as well was that he was constantly comparing the 992 GT3 to the 997 GT3. This being an RS, it is slightly rawer, but I think the overarching consensus is that the 997 is actually a slightly better road car, which is bonkers considering Porsche usually go forwards with every single generation. I think the 992 GT3 might actually be a step backwards in the usability department. So far, so good. Heel and toe, as with most Porsches, is just so easy. I'm not a driving god at all. Most of you have probably worked that out from my last track video in this. But even myself, in my clumpy, horrible Yeezy trainers, I find it relatively easy to do a bit of heel and toe. It is an absolute joy to use. The pedal placement, the positioning of the wheel, the positioning of the gear stick, everything's absolutely perfect. And that's what Porsche just do so well. No matter the generation, they are absolutely bob on in that department. Let's try and get it up the revs somewhere then. Right. We are in sport mode now, which opens the exhaust slightly, but it doesn't put the damping on. Slightly uncomfy through that. Right, gripes on a daily basis then. What's it like to live with just whilst we're being held up by some moochers in front of us? Ground clearance, not the best. This car doesn't have lift, so it's not ideal ground clearance wise. You get a bit of scraping at the front. You've obviously got that front tray, which is about 100 quid, 120 quid to replace. So not the end of the world from that respect. The tech in this car is actually pretty poor from standard. I had the PCM, before the PCM 3.0, so whatever that one was, the CDR actually, which I then swapped out to the PCM 3.0, which I bought off eBay, which I then put CarPlay in. So now this car has CarPlay in it, wireless CarPlay, and also on the cable as well. Absolutely brilliant. So it brings it up kind of tech-wise to a modern vehicle. The speakers still aren't great. They're the standard speakers. They're not the upgraded Bose option, which you could get in this car, but it's livable with, and really, good speakers when you've got that flat 6 3.8 litre stuck behind your head? You really don't. I mean, I'm held up speed wise what I can do, but listen. It's brilliant. So should you buy a 997 GT3 or GT3 RS? I think you should. I think this represents a generation of peak Porsche. I think the size of the car, the usability on a day-to-day basis, the rarity of this car as well. There are only about 1,500 of these ever produced, and I suspect the number of those now is probably down more towards 1,000. So you're looking at almost Carrera GT numbers of these made, and then obviously you've got the 4 litre where 600 variants of those were produced as well. So overall, a very rare car. It's obviously a Metzger derived engine as well, the last of its kind, and you've also got the fact that this is the last GT3 RS ever produced with a manual gearbox. It's a 6-speed manual box. We're going to go around here, I think. Even the turning circle's good on this car. It's not a big car. It's bloody brilliant. Road conditions through there, and this car just laps it up. It doesn't skit around, doesn't bump, it just maintains contact with the floor, giving you huge grip from those 315 tyres at the back. I don't know, I'm not up on my technical knowledge.
So from a rarity perspective, this is a great car. From a styling perspective as well, I just think they've got the proportions on this car so right. It's one of the only cars out there you can get away with gold wheels, flags on the side, big GT3 RS graphics. You just get away with it. There's that kind of retro cool about it in a way that modern cars just don't get away with. I think if you did all that stuff on a 992, it would just look a little bit, I don't know, garish and a bit too try-hard. But this generation, I just think it looks so cool. Boring stuff then. Running costs. What's it like to run one of these? Maintenance costs on these isn't too bad. An average service is less than £1,000. Your warranty, I think, is around £700 a year, and you can still put a Porsche warranty on this. In fact, I think this one still does have the Porsche warranty from the previous owner on it, which I need to transfer or get a new one for myself. But that's really remarkable considering this car is a 2010, 2011. Repairs aren't bonkers on these either, really. The specialists all over the place now. You've got your RPM techniques, you've got your PAR, Porsche, you've got your Rint, you've got all those kind of amazing specialists that will work on these and actually give you a solution a lot of the time that Porsche main dealers perhaps won't give you. Most of the parts on these now can be refurbed, rebuilt. The specialist aftermarket parts, they're actually often better than the OEM units. There really are a whole host of options on these cars now that make the ownership prospect of these cars a lot less daunting than it once was. It's just such an analog car, it's so great. I absolutely adore this car. Is it a keeper in the garage? Absolutely. This is a car that I bought with a mind to keep. A deal came up on this particular car. It's done sod all miles. I'm going to put a load of miles on it. I'm going to hold on to it. This isn't a kind of a buy and flip. This is very definitely a long-term keeper. Let's see if we can build the revs up down here. The other thing as well with this manual box and pressing the sport button, unlike your Carrera S's and your Carrera T's of the modern age, you've got that kind of auto blip which makes it sound like you heel and toe yourself. On this car, it's literally just you and the gearbox. You get it wrong, other people can hear you, and you can hear it and smell it on the clutch. Right, we're in second, doing 10 miles an hour. We had a moment there. We had a moment there, ladies and gentlemen. Consumer advice: don't let slippery mud get all over the back tyres of your GT3 RS. It does not enjoy it. That was a slide, an unintentional one. We have actually got Michelin Pilot Sport 2s on the back of this car, not known for their all-weather terrain ability. I don't think they're off-road tyres, so that could have offered up why we had a little bit of unsticking. But on the whole, the car is very grippy, and you don't often experience issues with grip, particularly when the tyres are warm. It's 4 degrees today, so that might explain some of that. Back then in London, we are back in London by the magic of the internet. What is this thing like to drive around town? Is it a nightmare in traffic? Are you going to get sciatica? Are you going to get backache? What is this thing like? Just to have the occasional bit of traffic jam, tight car parks, all that kind of stuff that you associate with London and city driving. What is it like to live with in a congested environment? Actually, do you know what? Bar the manual gearbox, which obviously PDK would be better around town, it's not that bad. The clutch is not that long, it's not that heavy, it's got a nice weight to it, but it's not a complete nightmare. The steering's pretty light at low speed. It doesn't have that kind of intelligent low speed, high speed steering that you can get in the kind of the modern Porsches, but actually it's all very well weighted. The seating position as well, even in these fixed bucket seats, not the end of the world, to be honest. I've got a really bad back. My L5 is mashed into the one above it, and I've got really bad sciatica. And one of the reasons I got rid of my Cayman GT4, that and the obscene premiums on them, was the fact that it exacerbated my sciatica. This is actually quite a nice, chilled place to be. It's not the end of the world at all. Again, visibility, something I always bang on about, and something that actually really ruins the ownership experience of a car. You can see out of the whole thing. Even with that stupid roll cage in the back, you've got really good visibility all round the car. Fuel consumption isn't even that bad either, to be honest with you. If you're not being a complete idiot and using all of the engine, it's actually absolutely fine. So, bar the box, it's not a bad town car. The clearance at the front isn't the end of the world. You do get a bit of scraping, but as I touched on earlier, the occasional scrape, you know when you scrape the front of the car and you go, ugh, it makes that horrible noise. At least when you hear it with this car, you know it's 120 quid and literally a disposable item that Porsche have put on there because they know that it's going to get buggered. No issues, to be honest. The windscreen demister, the aircon, everything just works as it normally does in Porsche very, very well. So no gripes about having one of these around town. I wouldn't daily one. I think it's a little bit too aggressive for that. You do get a bit of road noise, a bit of interior noise, and you get that kind of like rattling, kind of scuttling noise from the engine, like a racing car, which gets a little bit long in the tooth, but very definitely it's not that unbearable. Even with my JCR exhaust system, we'll turn the sport button off. Surprisingly livable with. Values, I know you all love values, I love values. What are the values of these things going to do? I think because of their rarity and the strength of the Porsche brand and the fact that this was the last manual GT3 RS to be made, the skyrocketing values of the 4 litre, I think the 3.8 is going to be good news. I think the price they've been at, and even the price they're at now, 170, 180 for a cheaper one, 210 for a Minter, I think that holds it in fairly good stead long term. I can see nice one of these bumping up to sort of 250, 300. So I think it's a good place to be, one of these cars. I think it represents a really cool end of an era for Porsche. Not to say the new GT cars aren't good, not to say the new modern 911s aren't good. Obviously they are, I've bought a whole host of them. But I do think this car represents something really, really cool. And if you ask a lot of like car nerds and proper car guys, they say the 997 GT generation was one of the best, if not the best GT3 and GT3 RS they've made. So yes, and do I think, in response to a lot of you asking whether or not I'm going to be upgrading to a 4 litre, do I think it is worth the premium to jump from this into a 4 litre? No. Not want to explain what I paid for this car. Definitely not. There is around, well, I mean, what's a 4 litre? 200 and something. Do they even start with a 2? I think they're 300 to 400, I think, with the Riviera blue car or the Mexico blue car going recently for 600k. I don't think, you know, a couple hundred grand on top of this car is going to be worth it at all. To all intents and purposes, driving wise, there's a little bit more torque. I think there might be a little bit more RPM. I think it might rev line slightly higher. This rev line's about 8,200, 8,300 RPM. I think it might rev slightly higher, potentially. And you've got a different crank or something from the RSR race car. All fairly minute details. Not minute if you're incredibly boring and nerdy like me, but I think with funds not being unlimited at this end, I think this is the best bang for buck and quite a sensible place to be. So yes, this is going to remain on the channel. Am I going to modify it? Probably not. Probably not. I think that's it, to be honest. I've got nothing else to say. That's it. If you want the setup that I've been filming on today, then make sure you get involved with Insta360 and the go-to camera. There will probably be a discount in the pinned comment. You've got to use that special link. Not only clicking that link will mean that you get a discount, you're also supporting the channel as well, and you're also getting some incredible tech to use. So make sure you get involved with that, get in the mix, and stay tuned for more cool stuff with Insta360 in the future. And make sure you check out the rest of their range as well, because as their name denotes, they also do some incredible 360 cameras as well. For now, thank you very much for watching from my GT3 RS 3.8. I will see you all very soon. Bye!